You thought 6ix9ine was untouchable, right? Rainbow hair, face tattoos, billions of streams and a federal snitch card that supposedly made him untouchable. Well, guess what? The streets don't care about contracts or music deals. They only understand one language: blood. And now Daniel Hernandez is facing the consequences of a life spent flipping friends, flaunting wealth, and attracting enemies like a human magnet for chaos. His girlfriend, Ariela Lang Costa Mejia Polano, isn't just another name on the tabloids. She's the latest casualty in a saga that's darker than a blackout in the Bronx at 3 a.m. How did a woman with nearly 700,000 followers, living her best life, go from luxury Mercedes posts to headlines about a brutal execution? Was it love, loyalty, or just being in the wrong place at the wrong time? The answer is messy, violent, and way more twisted than any Instagram story could show. Tonight, we're diving deep into the scandal that has hip-hop reeling, authorities scrambling, and the streets whispering warnings. Buckle up, because this is the story of betrayal, blood, and the price of riding with a rat hand. Trust me, it's about to get uglier than anyone expected. Daniel Hernandez, better known to the world as 6ix9ine, has a reputation that precedes him, and not in the way most celebrities dream of, but in a way that makes people either laugh nervously or cross the street to avoid him. And now the consequences of his reckless lifestyle have reached an even darker, more horrifying level with the murder of Ariela Lang Costa Mejia Polano, a 33-year-old Dominican social media star whose life of luxury and influence was tragically cut short. A woman who had nearly 700,000 followers tracking her every post, flaunting her Mercedes, her designer fits, her VIP access at New York's trendy spots, completely unaware that her proximity to Daniel Hernandez was like standing next to a lit grenade. And the irony of her glamorous life is that every picture she posted, every moment of joy she shared, likely painted a precise map for the people who had been waiting years for their revenge. And make no mistake, this was no random act of violence. Authorities have described it as a targeted hit. Multiple gunshots in her chest, execution style, leaving her lifeless in a vehicle that moments before symbolized her success and independence. And if you think that this is just a coincidence or a simple case of wrong place, wrong time, think again, because anyone who has ever been associated with 6ix9ine knows the pattern, the way chaos seems to orbit him, the way loyalty is irrelevant and association is a death sentence. And this is not the first time someone in his life has been hurt by his decisions. His 2018 cooperation with the federal government against the 9 Trey gangster Bloods not only sent multiple members to prison for long sentences, but also created a ripple effect that endangered everyone close to him. And the streets do not forgive or forget. And this is where Ariela's story becomes chilling, because she was front and center in his chaotic world, reportedly having romantic ties to him, appearing in his 2023 music video, which itself allegedly painted a target on her back. And it is easy to see how being romantically involved with a man whose very survival depends on betraying the people around him can become a literal matter of life and death. And she had been there before, narrowly escaping a kidnapping in 2018 by gang members who mistook her for one of his girlfriends. A terrifying brush with death that should have been a warning, a moment to step back. But instead, she became more enmeshed in the world of a man whose life is built on paranoia, manipulation, and the strategic cultivation of enemies. And while Ariela was building her life, posting her happiness and success online, Daniel Hernandez was creating the kind of chaos that not even 1,000 security cameras or bodyguards could protect her from. And the timeline is relentless, painting a picture of a world where social media glamour meets street vengeance, where posts and videos become markers for retribution. And this is where the psychological horror of her situation really sinks in, because she had no idea that what the public saw as fun, fame, and luxury was simultaneously a countdown to her potential death. and authorities confirmed that the shooting was a calculated hit. Clearly connected to Daniel Hernandez's controversial past and his notorious cooperation with federal prosecutors, a cooperation that has been described as unprecedented in hip-hop culture. A man turning on everyone who trusted him to save his own skin. And the fallout of that cooperation has been catastrophic, creating permanent enemies and making anyone even remotely close to him a potential target. And it is not just random street myth or gossip that paints him this way. It is a pattern that stretches back years, affecting not only Ariela, but also previous partners like Sarah Molina, the mother of his child who endured years of abuse, both physical and psychological, highlighting a consistent pattern of destruction, manipulation, and negligence that defines Daniel Hernandez's relationships. And while Sarah survived and endured the consequences of being involved with him, Ariela was not as fortunate. The streets, the fans, the media, and even the authorities have had to reckon with the fact that associating with him is not just a bad idea. It is potentially fatal, and when you combine that with Ariela's social media visibility, the stakes rise exponentially because every post, every tagged location, every visible luxury item becomes information for someone who has been holding a grudge for years, and the brutality of the act, the precision of the attack, the timing and location, all point to a message being sent, not just a crime being committed. And this message is simple, yet terrifying: proximity to 6ix9ine in equals danger. And history backs this up, from previous acts of intimidation to public retaliation against former associates. It is a lesson written in blood, and Ariela's life, her charm, her beauty, her influence, her happiness, all became collateral damage in a war that started with Daniel Hernandez's own choices. His obsession with fame, his complete disregard for the consequences of betrayal, and his unrelenting need to survive at all costs. And it is this mixture of recklessness, celebrity obsession, and street-level hostility that makes the case so chilling, because it is not just about one woman's murder. It is about a domino effect that continues to threaten lives. And the authorities, the FBI, and even social media analysts are all aware that this is not the last time the consequences of his actions will manifest violently. And while Ariela's death shocked the public and made headlines, for those who understand the deeper patterns, it was sadly predictable. A tragic inevitability built on years of choices that prioritized survival and notoriety over loyalty, safety, and human life. And the fallout continues to ripple outward, touching friends, families, and anyone who becomes entangled in the chaotic orbit of a man who has weaponized betrayal as an art form. And in this world, innocence is no protection. Fame is no shield, and love can become a curse. And that is the terrifying reality of Daniel Hernandez's life and the world he has created, where every action is a risk. Think every relationship is a potential liability, and the consequences, as Ariela's life tragically demonstrates, can be deadly. Daniel Hernandez, known as 6ix9ine, has left a trail of chaos that stretches far beyond Ariela Lung Costa Mejia Polano's tragic death. And as the investigation unfolds, the picture that emerges is darker and more twisted than anyone could have imagined, because the world sees the rainbow hair, the tattoos, the flashy lifestyle, but very few understand the calculated recklessness behind it all. And according to anonymous sources claiming inside knowledge, Daniel's life has been a non-stop cycle of betrayal, manipulation, and lavish excess funded by criminal activity and streaming revenue, while leaving collateral damage in every corner. And insiders say that before Ariela was killed, she had been repeatedly warned by mutual acquaintances about the dangers of getting too close to him, because his cooperation with the feds had painted a permanent target on anyone connected to him. And it is not just the streets that are concerned. The so-called elite of the hip-hop world has been quietly observing the fallout, knowing that his past decisions have made him untouchable legally, but untouchable in every other sense, and rumors Circulating on social media suggests that his spending habits were obscene, even for someone of his level of notoriety. With sources claiming he rented multiple luxury apartments simultaneously, purchased jewelry worth hundreds of thousands, and threw parties that were less about celebration and more about sending a message to rivals. And the intrigue is compounded by reports from supposed leaked documents that hint at financial mismanagement intertwined with ongoing criminal ties. With each deal, each transaction, each public stunt amplifying the risk not just to him but to anyone foolish enough to associate with him, and Ariella, despite her intelligence and charm, found herself caught in this web of opulence and danger, living the high life while the clock was ticking. And friends close to her allegedly tried to intervene, warning her that Daniel's notoriety was a shield for him, but a sword for those around him. And yet she continued, drawn by a combination of love, curiosity, and the irresistible pull of the lifestyle that his name offered. And insiders even claim that Daniel's manipulation extended beyond romantic relationships. Allegedly, influencing business partners, social media managers, and even minor crew members to act as buffers between him and the consequences of his actions. And according to these sources, this culture of fear and loyalty kept people trapped in a system where they could neither speak nor leave without risking retaliation. And the public reaction has been equally intense, with some fans defending him as a misunderstood figure in hip-hop, while others call for justice not just for Ariella, but for all the people whose lives were upended or destroyed because of his choices. And comments on social media are flooded with theories linking his snitching, prior feuds, and public provocations to the murder, suggesting that this was not an isolated incident but part of a long chain reaction set off years ago. And adding to the chaos are anonymous reports claiming that he openly flaunted his federal cooperation as a badge of honor, using it to intimidate rivals while simultaneously exposing associates, creating a dangerous environment where anyone within his circle became a potential target. And sources say that some of his exes have been forced to relocate multiple times, change identities, and live under constant threat because of his indiscretions and legal maneuvers. And in one alleged incident, a close friend supposedly received threats after being seen with him at a nightclub, highlighting the volatility of proximity to Daniel Hernandez. And public outrage has been fueled not only by the murder, but by the realization that wealth and fame do not absolve a person from the consequences of their recklessness, with online commentators speculating that Ariella's death could have been prevented if intervention had occurred earlier. And yet there are no easy answers, because Daniel's charisma, influence, and constant media presence make it difficult for authorities and even well-intentioned friends to predict or control his actions. And to make matters worse, insiders allege that he has cultivated a network of enablers who profit from his notoriety, encouraging behavior that escalates conflicts while shielding him from accountability. And in this way, the line between celebrity and criminal enterprise becomes dangerously blurred. And while law enforcement continues to investigate, the combination of public scrutiny, leaked reports, and street-level speculation has created an atmosphere of suspense and fear, with every new revelation intensifying the narrative that Daniel Hernandez is at the center of a storm of his own making. And despite his numerous legal battles, probation violations, and public condemnations, he continues to live boldly, flaunting wealth, attending events, and posting online, seemingly indifferent to the deadly consequences that linger around him. And some sources even claim that he enjoys the notoriety, relishing the drama and chaos that follow in his wake, using it as fuel for music, public appearances, and social media influence. And this behavior has had catastrophic consequences for anyone within his orbit, demonstrating a chilling pattern where charm, manipulation, and a taste for danger intersect in a lethal combination. And Ariella's story, while tragic, is only one chapter in a larger saga of destruction, abuse, and moral decay. a narrative that includes previous partners, business associates, and even casual acquaintances who have been drawn into his world without fully understanding the risks. And the public reaction continues to be a mix of shock, disbelief, and morbid fascination as people debate whether he is a victim of circumstance, a deliberate provocateur, or something far more sinister. And each new claim, whether confirmed or speculative, adds to the tension, creating a real-time investigation that is as much about human behavior and psychology as it is about crime. And the lavish lifestyle, combined with his notorious past and ongoing controversies, ensures that attention will not fade quickly, and the pattern of destruction, the manipulation, and the reckless disregard for anyone but himself creates a suspenseful, chilling backdrop for the events that unfolded with Ariella, showing a man whose need for attention and survival has consequences that ripple outward in ways that few can fully comprehend. And as this saga develops, the stakes remain high, the tension palpable. And the world continues to watch as Daniel Hernandez navigates a life built on notoriety, betrayal, and chaos. Daniel Hernandez, better known as 6ix9ine, now faces the full consequences of a life built on chaos, betrayal, and reckless ambition. And the fallout from Ariella Lancosta Mejia Polano's murder has intensified the scrutiny around every move he makes, because his public persona as a flashy rapper masks the danger that follows him everywhere. And sources claim that the streets have never forgotten his snitching. And every betrayal has left a long list of people holding grudges, with allies turned enemies and former friends still paying the price for his decisions. And insiders allege that Daniel's pattern of attracting violence is not new, but rather a consistent thread woven through his life, from his early days in Brooklyn to the height of his fame. And the way he flaunts wealth and notoriety while ignoring the deadly consequences makes him a magnet for retaliation. And law enforcement officials are reportedly piecing together the full scope of his connections, looking into the financial deals, the personal relationships, and the network of enablers who have allowed him to operate with impunity. And analysts suggest that his audacity in public spaces, including appearances at clubs, gyms, and media events, keeps him in constant danger. And while some fans celebrate his ability to survive and thrive despite legal troubles, the reality is that proximity to him has proven lethal, as seen with Ariella. And observers note that this tragedy is part of a broader pattern where personal relationships are collateral damage in a life dedicated to self-preservation and spectacle. And the psychological impact on those around him is immense, with ex-partners and former associates reporting long-term trauma, threats, and the need to constantly relocate or change routines. And the financial fallout adds another layer, with alleged mismanagement, extravagant spending, and legal costs threatening to destabilize the empire he built on fame, streaming revenue, and notoriety. And while he continues to release music, post on social media, and make headlines, these actions only reinforce the risks to those in his orbit, drawing attention, creating targets, and ensuring that the cycle of danger and violence continues. And according to supposed leaked reports, there are ongoing investigations into not only Ariella's death but also Daniel's broader criminal history, financial irregularities, and connections to remaining gang members, with law enforcement and federal authorities working in coordination to prevent further tragedies. And this has caused a ripple effect across the entertainment industry, with colleagues, promoters, and other artists weighing the risks of associating with him, leading to canceled appearances, withdrawn sponsorships, and a growing reputation as untouchable legally, but untouchable socially and personally. And commentators note that his strategy of using public persona to mask vulnerability has made him a paradoxical figure, admired for audacity, condemned for recklessness, and feared for the consequences his actions have on anyone near him. And social media continues to dissect every post, every public statement, and every rumored incident, connecting the dots between his past betrayals, current behavior, and the potential threats still looming. And the narrative is compounded by the human cost, the families affected, and the moral questions raised by celebrity culture that allows notoriety to overshadow personal accountability. And while some defend him as a misunderstood figure who has survived unimaginable pressures, the pattern of violence and manipulation is undeniable, and analysts warn that the combination of fame, criminal history, and psychological instability makes his environment uniquely volatile, and Ariella's death is a grim reminder of what can happen when glamour and danger collide, and public outrage has surged, with calls for justice not only for her but for the broader circle of victims who have suffered quietly as a result of his choices. And legal experts speculate about future charges, possible civil suits, and increased scrutiny on his activities, both domestic and international. And as the investigation continues, the tension remains high, the stakes escalating with each revelation, and every new detail adds layers to a story that already reads like a thriller, with real-world consequences that are far from fictional. And as authorities, fans, and commentators watch, the narrative surrounding Daniel Hernandez grows, showing a man whose need for attention, survival, and spectacle has created an intricate web of danger, betrayal, and loss. And the ultimate question becomes not just whether he will face justice, but how many more lives will be affected before the cycle ends, and the streets, the media, and the world at large are left grappling with the chilling lesson that proximity to 6ix9ine can have deadly consequences. That fame does not shield from retribution, and that the human cost of his choices is measured not in headlines but in blood, trauma, and shattered lives. And as this story unfolds, the public continues to watch, debate, and react, compelled by the drama, horrified by the reality, and eager to see what comes next. While Daniel Hernandez himself navigates a life where every action has a price, every relationship is fraught with danger, and the shadow of Ariella's death looms as a constant reminder that in his world, survival is never guaranteed, and the consequences of betrayal, notoriety, and reckless ambition are unavoidable and permanent. Now, ask yourself this: are you really going to scroll past this story like it's just another headline? Or are you going to sit back and think about the chaos, the betrayal, the blood that follows Daniel Hernandez wherever he goes? Because what happened to Ariella Lancosta Mejia Polano wasn't random, it wasn't an accident, and it wasn't the result of bad luck. It was the inevitable consequence of a life lived recklessly, surrounded by enemies and fueled by fame and ego. And the truth is, every person who gets close to him becomes part of the story. It's part of the danger and part of the fallout. And if that doesn't make you pause before celebrating every flashy post and viral stunt, nothing will. So take a moment, look at the pattern, consider the lives affected, and then ask yourself, who really pays the price for celebrity? Who really suffers when loyalty is worth less than a social media like? And who will be next in the crosshairs? And if you want to stay on top of every shocking update, every secret leak, and every unbelievable twist in this ongoing saga, then you know what to do? Hit that like button, smash subscribe, ring the bell. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what you really think about Daniel Hernandez, Ariella, and everyone caught in the storm, because trust me, this story is far from over, and you do not want to miss a single detail.